Today I will show you how to render using Conte on toned paper. Students will need the following supplies to render using Conte: both a white and a brown Bistra Conte stick, kneaded eraser, 2H pencil, Strathmore pastel paper in a neutral color, a drawing board or foam core, easel, a well-lit still life, Faber-Castell Pitt pencils or Conte in white and Van Dyke brown. Also, you would need tape or clips to attach your paper to your drawing board. Before we begin drawing, let's take a look and review what rendering is. Rendering is a refined drawing without outlines that includes a full range of light and dark values that replicates nature to create a 3D appearance. Some areas of your still life, the dark values particularly, will gradate from a darker value to a lighter value, and it will be seamless. While in other areas, there may be strong contrast between light and dark edges, or sometimes you'll get edges that are what are called lost edges or lost and found, white on white, dark on dark. But all the edges will not be hard. That is not the way nature is. If you can learn to understand how light and shadows work, it will reduce a lot of your workload, and you'll work from a place of knowledge and understanding. You have two different types of light. One is a direct light that includes your highlights. The second is an indirect light source that includes reflective light. Your direct light will have your lightest values. Your indirect light will have your next lightest values. Your shadows will have gradations in them, and where the shadows are the lightest is reflective light in the shadows. There are two different types of shadows. One shadow is the core shadow, which is the unlit side of an object. The other is the image being cast as a shadow onto another surface. Both these types of shadows will have a gradation of value, but the darkest area is generally at the base of your objects in your still life. The closer your still life is to the light source, the stronger the contrast or lights and darks will be. Dark values will absorb light. Light values reflect more light. Textures also absorb more light, whereas reflective surfaces obviously will reflect light. After you have set up your still life, you can begin drawing with a 2H pencil, a very light outline of your still life that would include the light and dark shadow areas. It's important to draw lightly so you do not indent and damage your paper. Plus, your outline should not show up in your completed drawing. Your completed drawing will also maintain the tone of the paper as one of your values. But to begin, you will start with the darker darks to block in larger areas of value. Resist the urge to start focusing on detail early on in a drawing or even at the midpoint. Save your details for last. As a drawing student, you've heard many times to squint your eyes while you're drawing. While you're drawing values, it's especially important. The value of the paper may represent the reflective lights, so remember to maintain that. Next, after adding and blocking in your darks, you will begin adding some lights, although it's best to save your lightest lights for last. There are advantages to working on a toned surface. It helps you to see your values more correctly in a drawing or a painting. A pleasing composition should have tonal harmony, and because you've worked your darks, saved your midtones, and then worked towards your lights, it's enabled you to do so much more accurately. Last of all, save your details and your lightest lights. By doing so, they will be fresh and you'll be less prone to overwork areas of your drawing. Please be sure not to mix your brown and white Conte. Use the tone of your paper as that mid value. This is very important. Now let's review some important facts about rendering light. Lines do not exist in nature, so do not outline. Squint your eyes as you draw so you may see values more accurately. Your darkest light is a minimum of 1-step value change lighter. That is compared to a reflective light, which is the lightest value that is in the shadows. If the two are of the same value, then the dimensions are lost. Last of all, this is the one that can make the big difference on how good your final drawing is. And that is pay special attention to hard and soft edges of either light and shadow. It's important to have a variety of edges in your drawing or any painting. They should contain both hard and soft edges in order to look natural. My demonstration drawing was done rather fast, and it could be cleaned up should I have gone over it with a lighter touch, more gentle strokes, so that the strokes are not as obvious or linear. With Conte, you can use the side of the stick and work pretty quick, or you can use a point. I always like to save a corner of my Conte. I'm less apt to be picking up a pastel pencil. Don't forget to use your kneaded eraser. When your values get a little too dark, you can always come back with that kneaded eraser and press and pull up some Conte to correct the value. Do not underestimate the knowledge of knowing how light and shadows work. It makes drawing or painting so much easier. Working on a toned surface with Conte is one of the fastest ways to complete a rendering. Working in pencil would take 4 to 8 times longer. So if you can grasp a knowledge of light and shadow, along with an ability to draw in Conte, you may find this to be a very satisfactory way of rendering. Plan, squint your eyes, block in your darkest darks, save the tone of your paper, add to your lights, finish with details and highlights, and voila!